Okay folks, today I wanted to talk to you about best practice method of installing a water dosing machine into your drinker line for your animals, for your sheep, cattle, pigs or poultry, wherever it is that you're doing it. There are a few key things that make your life easier when you set up a dosing system, and these are true regardless of which brand you use, whether it's a Dosatron, a Gator, a Chemolyzer, a Dosematic, a Dosatron, all of them. All of them will work better if you use some of the principles that I'm about to run through. The first thing I'd say is when you install the doser in the line, don't try to avoid permanent sort of setups that you can't change. What I mean there is don't glue bits and pieces together if you can avoid it. The setup I've put together here is all done in poly fittings, and these are most of the time these are just hand tightened, usually with a bit of Teflon tape to make sure that it's all watertight. But you can remove doses, the doser from the system if you need to. Now, why would you do that? The main thing is I've only ever run into two different types of doser, generally speaking. Ones that require at some point in their life some level of service or maintenance, and the other ones. The other ones are disposable ones that you throw away after they block up and you don't repair them. But certainly the ones we sell are very repairable, but you need to be able to get them out of the line in order to do that. Secondly, we'd always recommend that you use an appropriate type of filter in the water line. We've got a nice one called a spin down filter that we can offer you if you need, but the important thing is that you use a filter that's going to be appropriate to the water quality that you have on your farm. Now, why would you need a filter? Well, we've seen all sorts of things. We've seen people pumping water out of creek beds where there's small bits of gravel and rock coming through. I've been on one farm where tried to solve a problem where a doser wasn't working. When we pulled it apart, there were quite a few very small fish jammed in the centre of the doser. Those are not going to help the situation and not going to help the doser work reliably. So a filter appropriate to the circumstances that you're working with. Third point, be aware that when you put the water through your doser, there'll be some friction loss or pressure loss through the doser itself, but there'll also be through the piping a certain amount of loss of pressure. So whatever it is that you start with, there'll be less at the other end, and it's very important that you keep the pipe size up big enough that the water is actually going to get right to the end of your sheds, down to the last pen. So with the setup we've put together here, we're using 1-inch pipe, which in most cases is satisfactory. But if you're coming off a 2-inch pipe that you're installing into, it might be possible that you have to go with a slightly bigger pipe size. Use whatever pipe size is appropriate though, and be aware that there is friction loss. Fourthly, it's nice if you can set up the possibility to bypass the whole system. So if this was your doser here, by using a system of 3 ball valves like we've done here, if we want to not have dosed water, if we want to have the water just go directly from the source to the end, we just shut off this valve and the one on the other end, and we open the one at the top, and we allow the water to just go straight through to the animals. When it comes time that you want to redivert the water back through the system, you shut the top valve and you open these 2 valves so that the water goes round through the doser and then on its way. You also, by setting it up this way, you do have the possibility to have a partly open top valve and fully open down here, so that you can actually control the speed of the doser somewhat if you needed to do that. And finally, the 5th point, know where your water is going, and if you have concerns about the possibility of the water coming back the wrong way after it's been dosed, and you want to prevent that, then it's a good idea to install a non-return valve in the system. That's not always necessary, but if you wanted those, it's a good idea to put them in. If you had a gator like this, the right point would be just ahead of the gator so that the water can't flow back into the system after it's been dosed. If you were dosing with a select doser, we'd be recommending that you put the non-return valve between the flow sensor and the injection point. And by doing it that way, so that would be on the other side, but by doing it that way it stops water going the wrong way through the flow sensor and creating a situation where you're overdosing, because the flow sensor can create a water flow message that's inaccurate if it's running the wrong way. So the cost of a system like this, well, first of all, if you can take a screenshot from this video, you're welcome to do that. Just take the whole picture in, take it to your Bunnings store or your local plumber or whoever you deal with locally, and just get the system put together like this. Alternatively, if you're about to put a system in and you want us to put all the bits together, we've got them here. We use Philmac, the Philmac brand. Now Philmac's an Australian supplier. The Philmac parts have got a 25-year guarantee, so they're pretty darn good. So I'd be, even if you get them from somewhere else, I'd be going with a brand like Philmac. If you want us to put the whole thing in the box, we can do so. The whole setup, that, as you see it there, is $250 for either a gator setup or a select doser. If you wanted to add to that, if you wanted to use one of these spin down filters that we've got, as I say, this is a nice, easy one for a water dosing system because it doesn't take a lot of time to actually clean the filter element. All you need to do is shut your water off here and here, open this purge valve, and it just spins down, just pushes out all the sediment out the bottom, and then you just reset it and open your valves and off you go. So you don't actually need to muck around with pulling cartridges out and cleaning it. It's nice and simple. If you wanted one of those, it adds $130 to the system. And if you needed a non-return valve, that adds another $38 to the system. So $250 as it is there, plus $130 there, plus $38 there. So the hamburger with the lot, everything in the box is $418, including GST. So finally, just summarising, it's very easy to put together a system like this and just put, if you're ready to go with a doser, just cut your pipe, put this in between the two bits that you've cut out, and you're done. Everything's up and running. We've quoted on 1-inch fittings right through, but we can quote on bigger fittings if you need to. And just summarising the 5 key things to make sure you get right. Set up something that's not a permanent setup so that you can remove the doser if you need to. Use a filter if you can, that's suitable to your particular situation. Use an appropriate size pipe. 1 inch is usually good enough, but bigger if you need to. Have a bypass like this so that you can remove the doser when it needs the service, and know where your water is going. There is actually a product, just finally, if you're not sure where your water lines are going, we've got a product in a little sachet that we can supply you. It's just a dye that you can put in the water, and it'll show up all the way to the end of the line to show you where your water is. That's about it, folks. Give us a call if we can help you further.